Welcome. Thanks for joining my presentation today. My name is Jodi Murray with JEM Coaching. I am a brain injury survivor. I was involved in a car accident where I was T-boned in January 2013. I feel like living through COVID-19 is very similar to my recovery process after my post-concussion. A number of the things that I'm experiencing, and I think that we are experiencing globally right now with COVID-19, is very similar to a lot of the things that we have to go through as a brain injury survivor in our recovery process. After my accident, I struggled with loss of who I was, my identity, having to create a new normal, which is very similar to what we are doing right now, creating a new normal, finding out what that new normal might be, and it's an ever-changing new normal. I initially thought that the specialists I was seeing and were directed to were there to help me. But I soon discovered that really they were there for a lot of different reasons. Some were there to help me, some not necessarily. I had to really learn to trust my gut and go with what was really helping me and what was going to make me feel better and help with my overall wellness and well-being. It really did teach me to go with my gut. And I think that's very similar with what we have to do now. We've got a lot of information coming from all angles and daily, a lot of things that are changing from one day to the next. Wear a mask, don't wear a mask. I think we have to go and when we're trying to find our comfort zone, we have to go with our gut and try and decide for ourselves, for our own personal selves, what we feel the most comfortable with. As you know, concussion recovery is very individual. And the support needed is very diverse, a number of different specialists, and it really is, again, very individual. So what works for me maybe didn't necessarily work for someone else, but there were also a lot of similar characteristics from one person to another as well. I really had to figure out who my circle of support was in the process, which I think very similar to now is who is our circle, who do we feel comfortable with, and so that we aren't broadening or making ourselves vulnerable to getting COVID-19, we have to figure out who is it within our, what I'm going to call, tribe. I did take a short break from work, but returned because I was thrown into yet another level of insurance claims with long-term disability. One of my specialists recommended to me that going back to work would actually help with my recovery, although it was very difficult and very tiring. In the end, it did help me to work through in my process of recovery. But I did find that it was a lot of work, and I was in a survival mode of just trying to survive day by day. So I chose to leave my work as a college professor early, took early retirement, which had a bit of a cost for us financially, and have decided to start up my own business. So I took some certification around life coaching with the Center for Neuroscience, and I am now working as a transition coach, and I really aspire and love working with people as a guide on the side and helping them to live their best life. In my workshops, I try to make them as participatory and interactive as possible. In this, I'm going to really challenge you to think about what is it for you in your own, like I'm going to say, your gut, get your gut instinct and what's really going to work best for you. To start us off, I'm going to get you to think about, how are you feeling? What would be some words and some things that you would think about that would describe how you're feeling right now? Here we are in 2 or 3 months of living in our pandemic globally, and it is something that we are living in with a common thread, but how we live it and the impact on us can be very individual. So how are you feeling? Are you feeling a little bit out of control, like the fear of getting COVID-19 is driving you as opposed to you driving your own life? I feel like in some ways, as I mentioned earlier, the recovery from the brain injury and surviving COVID-19 is like a double hit. It's like a double whammy. Trying to cope with both can be both challenging, our resilience and our resolve. In this workshop, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of the wellness. I'm going to share with you a puzzle that really looks at our overall wellness and some of the factors and considerations that you need to think about in your overall wellness, and some things to think about how to put you in the driver's seat of your here and now in your lives, and to try and set aside that fear of COVID-19 for a few minutes so that it's not driving you, and to try and find a way for you to be in the driver's seat in your day-to-day lives. I thought this little quote, this little joke was kind of a fun way to think about just the amount of information that we're given and what to do with it and how to move forward with it. In this case, it's maybe taking some of the rules and the policies that we're being given literally and going to the grocery store thinking that all you really needed was a mask and the gloves. But it can be a confusing time right now. And it kind of, again, reinforces the importance of relying on our own wisdom, our own internal cues, and our strength. As I mentioned, I really do think that there is a parallel between concussion recovery and what we were living through with COVID-19. I've just listed a few of the areas that I think where there are some of the similarities. And the first one really is around identity. We have lost sort of maybe that identity of just our normal day-to-day lives, the freedom to be able to come and go, to be able to hug people, to be able to interact with people freely without having to really think about it or having to line up at the store or whatever that might be. When I had my concussion, I lost my identity just like that. In that car accident, one minute I was a college professor, I was going to be going to work that day. There's so many things that I was going to do, and in that split second, that changed for me. And I had to really dig deep and really try to reimagine myself and reimagine my future of what that might look like, living as a survivor of a concussion and living with ongoing symptoms that I continue to have. The second is just that fear. For me, it was the fear of maybe perhaps falling again or hurting my head again or whatever that could be. For now, I think it's the fear of getting COVID-19. So just that living with the fear of it. And it's really important to not let that fear drive us. It's really important to sort of dig in, find out what are some things that we can take control of in the here and now in our lives. There's a lot of things that are out of our control that we really don't have any control over. And one of those is whether they're going to get a vaccine or not. But it's maybe really taking a look at what are some things that we can do in our lives to take some control and feel like we're in the driver's seat. Another area is grief. And I think a lot of people are feeling the grief. I certainly felt with my concussion, just the grief of losing who I was, the grief of not being able to do the things that I enjoy doing. One of them was training for triathlons and competing in triathlons. I loved that. I loved being physically active. I had to really scale that back, and I couldn't do that. I had to reimagine that and in small steps, baby steps, build that back up again. Similarly, we are going through the grief of losing just our regular day-to-day lives in a number of different levels, going through the grief process. Isolation was a big one for me with a concussion, is that I had to isolate myself. I couldn't handle being around a lot of people at any given time. I couldn't handle the noise. I couldn't handle the lights. So it can be a very lonely time, which is very similar, I think, with COVID-19. I think it's a time when people, as time marches on and it goes a little bit longer, that feeling of isolation, not being connected with others as closely or as often, can increase the loneliness. Also, that conflicting direction, which I mentioned a little bit earlier. We're getting messages from experts daily, and they're conflicting messages, and it's really difficult to get a handle on what's really the right thing. And I found that with my concussion as well. I had a lot of different experts telling me, what I should do, what are some things I should consider for my recovery. Some of them I found worked, some of them I found just really weren't for me. So again, I had to trust my gut and go with what was really going to be helping me. Recognizing that what works for some differs for others. And I think that's very similar in the things that we're finding or the situation we're finding ourselves in right now. And regionally, there's some areas that there aren't as many cases of COVID-19, and others there are. So maybe there's some differences in just even where you live and the safety. And so you need to decide what's your safety zone on the continuum of being really, really totally isolating yourself to somewhere on that continuum of opening yourself up to maybe being able to go out and do some shopping or whatever that might be, feeling and increasing your comfort level. So be thinking about what are some things that you can do to increase that comfort level. And it may be wearing a mask, wearing gloves, whatever that might be. So the safety aspect is really an important aspect, and is another huge parallel between concussion recovery and what we are experiencing right now with COVID-19 and the pandemic. Now I'd like you to think of a time where you felt that you were in the driver's seat of your life. You felt like you were in control of your own life and the life situation. Just ponder that for a second and think about, what did that feel like? What did that feel like inside when you felt like you were in the driver's seat? What would be some words that you would use to describe that? I know in some of the people that I've worked with and clients that I've worked with and some workshops that I've held around this topic, some of the things that people have said to me is they felt like they were in control, felt confident, happy, strong, felt like they were a powerhouse. Those are the kinds of things that I'm going to encourage you to tap into yourself. And what are some things that you can be doing now so that you are feeling confident as you go through your daily lives, feeling happy, feeling hopeful for the future? What are some things that you can build into your day-to-day lifestyle now so that you can get that feeling of confidence, get that feeling of being in the driver's seat of your life? Thinking about the driver's seat, as Guru, who is a humanitarian and spiritual leader, and I think provides some really great wisdom for us to think about. What he encourages us to think about is our mind. Think of our mind as a vehicle to be cared for and driven by us, not as something that we allow to be in control. He indicates that really the car is the mind, and it oftentimes is the piece that is driving us. The mind is driving, and it's like an automatic car. So you may say to go left, but it will go right. So the mind, so that means that you're not in control. It's the car that's in control. So the mind really is a piece that you need to consider some ways that you can take control of that. So how many of you feel that you are in control of your own life and you are in the driver's seat of your own life? It may be that you feel that your injury, or more recently the fear of getting COVID-19, are in control of your lives. If you feel that your life is out of control sometimes, the right dose of wisdom can bring you back into the driver's seat of your mind and put your mind in the control. Some thoughts is that we are biologically programmed to be well. When we are on track, we feel good, we'll feel stronger, we feel confident. When we're off track, we often become agitated, antsy, or very upset. This discomfort and anxiety are oftentimes serving the same function as a fire alarm, and can be almost a healthy sign, because it makes us pause and really stop and think in the moment, what is it that's really going on that's making me feel uncomfortable or antsy or anxious? And it's sort of like hitting the pause button and really taking a look at, what is it that's really important to me right now? What's missing? What needs are missing? What's really bothering me right now? And then you can, from there, once you've figured out what the problem is, then you just need to take the steps to work through how are you going to make that better. We can change our mental and physical health through the choices we make and the actions we take. I have a little post-it note here just to remind me to share with you a little tip that I think really works well. In the moment, so as you go through your daily lives, as you maybe stop and pause in the moment that you're in, and starting to maybe do some kind of an activity, or you're going to take some kind of action, I'm going to encourage you to sort of stop for a moment before starting the activity and think about, is that activity that you're about to do, is it going to be something that helps you feel stronger, or is it something that's going to make you feel weaker? And ultimately, what you want to do is fill your day with as many possible things that you can do that help you feel stronger, give you energy, give you joy in your life. Not to say that everything you do in your day is going to be that, but maybe try and balance it so that more of your day is filled with things that's giving you energy and make you feel stronger than the things that maybe don't give you as much energy in the day. What I want to do is share with you a model. It's called the Stamp Puzzle, and it's a wellness model that I think is very comprehensive and really takes a look at all different aspects of our lives, and things that we really need to take into consideration. If we really only consider one area of our life, like maybe our physical aspect, and don't really consider all the other areas, we can end up feeling a little bit unbalanced. So it is really important to sort of do a deep dive into each different area of our lives, or to consider our wellness, and maybe even look at all different areas and do a bit of a check-in to see on a scale of 1 to 10, where do I fit? So I'm going to say, so you can see in the puzzle picture that I've got here, the different areas that we need to consider. The puzzle pieces is safety, tribe, ability, meaning, and play. So if you were to take a look at each one of those areas and consider for yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you fall in that scale of 1 to 10? 10 being, yeah, got this, we're really good. 1 being, maybe you need to pay a little bit of attention to that area. So you might find that maybe only 1 or 2 of the areas in the piece of the stamp puzzle are areas that maybe you want to strengthen a little bit more. And you can then do some brainstorming about what are some things that you could do in your life to try and strengthen that area. So I'm going to challenge you to sort of take a look at each area and consider for yourself, where do you fit in each piece of the puzzle? I'm going to go through and explain what is meant by each area of the puzzle. And through the Brain Injury Association, the Waterloo-Wellington Brain Injury Association, and the challenge that they're doing right now, they're encouraging you to really take a look at one area each week and try and share on their Facebook page an activity or something that you're doing to help strengthen that area of the puzzle. The first one was this S, which is for safety. And safety actually is very all-encompassing. It incorporates 3 different areas that you need to consider that are very important, and I think are crucial and central to the stamp puzzle. Really important to really consider your emotional needs, your physical needs, and your financial well-being. So that in this area, you need your emotional piece is really how comfortable are you feeling about just being you and just being the person that you are. So that's an area to really, your emotional well-being. And in particular right now, when we are living in isolation, whether either through the concussion or through the pandemic that we're living in, our emotional side can be, I think, a bit of a roller coaster. So maybe it's a time to just sort of tap in and think about how are you feeling around that area, and be honest with yourself. And then from there, take a look at, well, what are some ways that I can strengthen that if you feel that that's an area that you would like to consider working on a little bit more. The physical side is really considering, free of threats. And we do have a bit of a threat right now with COVID-19. So then therefore, to feel safe, maybe you need to consider, is wearing a mask everywhere you go something that you want to consider, just so that you feel a little bit more safe. You need to gauge what your comfort level is around that. And I'm just using masks as one example. There may be other examples that you could, just where you want to go, how comfortable are you going out for a walk in your community that you're living in. So a number of different things that you can think about. The physical also takes into consideration your basic needs for shelter, food, water, making sure that they are met, as well as your physical health and your overall well-being. The financial side is really ensuring that your basic needs are secure, that you're able to access the necessary health provisions. And a number of the health providers, I understand, are opening up more, and so they will be more available to us, which is the fabulous news, and that we can maintain the lifestyle that we have. The second area that I want to share a little bit about from the puzzle pieces is tribe. And I think this is where the Brain Injury Association really does help for us, is connecting us. And I sort of consider the association as part of my tribe, where I feel safe, I feel like I can just be me, and I can open to be able to share openly how I'm feeling and what are some of the things that I'm working on right now. So that's an example of what we mean by tribe. So the tribe really does help us live longer, be more physically healthy and able. It protects us against the harmful effects of stressors and increases our quality of life. Ultimately, socializing and connecting with people has been shown to be as beneficial as taking medication to lower blood pressure. So you can just imagine the overall benefits to yourself. Having a healthy tribe can help us relearn that we matter. We need to find our us, which is where I think the association fits in there. Ultimately, we are biologically programmed to be social. So in this time with COVID-19, we need to be creative in some ways to try and find ways that we can be connected to people. It may be through Zoom, through FaceTime, different options that are available and different apps that are available to us through technology. It may be just picking up the phone and phoning up a friend that you haven't talked to for a little while. There's a number of different ways that we can continue to stay connected to people, even though we are trying to maintain our isolation. The third area of the puzzle that I want to touch on is ability. And I think this is a really cool one, especially my background is in recreation. And I really think what I love about recreation, it's an opportunity for people to try out new things, maybe find some things that they never considered that they would enjoy before. They may try out some things and think, nope, that's not necessarily for me. So it's really a tester to see, okay, what am I able to do? What could I try? It's really taking a look at not saying to yourself, oh, I can't do that. It's I can't do that yet. So what are some of the things that you can do? So I want you to consider and think about a time that you've had something that you were determined to accomplish, that when you woke up that day, you felt really excited about what it was that you're going to be doing that day. And that's what this piece of the puzzle is really getting at. What are some of the things that you look forward to, that you can get excited about, that drive you, that you feel capable of being able to do, or that you're eager and curious to try out? We really need to have a sense of purpose or aim in more than one area to create that feeling of mastery and that ability in our lives. So research again shows that having an aim or purpose helps people live longer. And I do believe living longer, not only living longer, but living life with energy and with vitality. So I do encourage you to try and build in things. And it might be trying out a new recipe. It could be any number of things, just depending on what your interest level is. And that's what makes it really cool as well, is that again, like concussion recovery, is very individual. So what gives you energy and what you get excited about may be very different from someone else, and that's okay. That's what makes us unique individuals. The other area is sense of meaning. So we are hardwired for meaning. We need to feel that we're a part of something bigger. Psychiatrist Viktor Frankl talked a little bit about the idea of meaning, and ultimately he stressed and shared that meaning really can't be pursued as a goal in itself. So oftentimes we get hung up in trying to think about that ultimate goal and trying to come up with something a really big idea, and that's not necessarily what we need to be doing in order to find a sense of meaning in our lives. Sometimes it's just all the different kinds of activities that we achieve to do, or that we would like to do, will in the end create the goal in itself. What I find is that the activities that we strive and that we desire and that give us energy that we want to do really tap into what our values are, personal values, and the things that we find are really important in life. And I think that that's really, instead of having to worry about what is that big goal, it's really taking a look at what are the key things that give you energy and that you want to build into your day. And ultimately, you'll have mini goals or things that you'll find yourself working towards. I know for me right now, it's my garden in the backyard. I'm trying to just be creative and just have some fun with it. I'm moving things around and transplanting things. And that for me gives me a bit of a sense of meaning and joy in my life and energy in my life. And the last piece of the puzzle that I want to share, and it's definitely, I think, one of the most important ones as well. And as adults, we oftentimes lose sight of play in our lives. And it is really important to try and build that into our life and just have some fun. I'm going to challenge you to try and find something, just start out with 5 minutes a day to build some play into your day. And again, that play, so I'll use the example as I was using about gardening, is just playing and just having some fun and moving things around just to see where that can go. It may be getting some sidewalk chalk and just writing cool things and maybe a quote out on the sidewalk to give people something to think about as they're walking by your place, whatever that might be. So building play into our life can be very important. It can take many forms. It might be a board game. It might be doing puzzles. It might be doing some kind of a craft. It could be learning something new that you haven't known before. And it really is important to try and engage in some kind of play. And that, again, gives us energy and hopefully will put a smile on your face that day. I want you to think about, okay, and some of the things that I've been talking about in the puzzle pieces, What are some of the, think for yourself, what are some of the things that, aha, I'm just learning something new, and try and capture what that new thing is. What are some of the things, the woohoos, the things that are reinforcing, like, oh yeah, I knew that. It's just great to be reminded about that. And if you have any huzz, you may be a little bit foggy on that, please feel free to reach out through the network, through the association on Facebook, and maybe just question what was meant by that and try and further explain so we can tap into that and further explore that. So it is an exciting time for us because it is June, for the month of June. It's really taking a look at brain injuries and doing maybe a little bit of education, and also a time for us to tap in and learn a little bit more about what are some of the supports that are out there for us, and what are some of the things that will help us in our own recovery. And so the Brain Injury Association has created the Driver's Seat Puzzle Challenge. So it's utilizing the different puzzle pieces that we chatted about. It's really taking a look at four of the 5 areas. And so each week they're going to really be focusing in on one area. And then from there, they're going to challenging you to share on their Facebook page some of the things, the activities that you're doing in order to build that challenge and put you in the driver's seat. So the more that you do, and the more activities that you do in each one of those areas. So again, I challenge you to take a look at each of those areas, and consider for yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you fall into as 1 being maybe needs a little bit of attention, and 10, yeah, no, I think I'm okay in that area. Where do you fall in that? And if you are sort of in the 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, maybe on the continuum, you might want to brainstorm and think about what are some things that you can do. So if it's play, then you're not really building play into your life. Well, then think about what are some things that you could do to build play into your life. And then by doing and then choose one of those activities and do that activity, and then share that. You might even take a picture of yourself doing that activity or something, or share a recipe or whatever in your post that you share with the Brain Injury Association as a part of the challenge. So it'll be a fun way for us to connect with one another and just get some ideas from what each of us are doing as well. So share your challenge activities on the Facebook page during the month of June, and each week there will be a new theme that we'll be taking a look at. So I do challenge you to have some fun with that. Here are some ideas around the different areas of putting you in the driver's seat of your life. So by picking strategies and doing things that are within your control and things that you can do are going to help put you in the driver's seat, so that the fear of COVID-19 or some of the fears and worries that you have of your recovery of a brain injury, these are things that these are really taking into consideration some things that you can actually do that are within your control, that you can do in your daily lives. And that ultimately, by taking action and doing those things, it's going to help you feel like you're in more control of your life, and put you into the driver's seat, so that you're not merely surviving, but you're thriving in your life. And I'm hoping we'll have a smile on your face as well. So here are some ideas, maybe calling a friend, which I mentioned. I know the silly walk is something that some people are doing in front of their house, and I've done that. I've gone for a walk, and there was a little silly walk sign put up in front of somebody's house, so I skipped past that house, which made me feel a little bit lighter and just put a smile on my face. Just thinking about what are some of the reasons to get up in the morning, and so what would be a reason for you? And it may be just, I want to get up because I want to call a friend. It could be something as simple as that. Ultimately, you want to be in the driver's seat of your own life, because if you're not, life will drive you. This is something that Oprah Winfrey talked about. This is a little quote that I found that I think is really helpful as well. Whenever you find yourself doubting how far you can go, just remember how far you have come. Remember everything you have faced, all the battles you have won, and all the fears that you have overcome. Ultimately, if you feel that you would like to talk about this a little bit more, if you are feeling a little bit stuck and feeling that you're not really in the driver's seat of your life, ultimately, I would like to encourage you to take part in the challenge. And if you are interested and would like some help with a guide on the side, I'm there to help put you in the driver's seat as a guide on the side. So just feel free to reach out to me at jodi@jemcoaching.ca. Thanks for your time, and I'm excited to see what some of the ideas and some of the things are that you're going to do and share in the challenge. Bye for now.